First, let me start with this disclaimer. Hey, listen, I get it. I get the narrative that's the storyline that's going around right now where, you know, me being American, people say, well, you're going to go for Wilder because, you're American and everything. And the Joshua fans are going to go for Joshua. There's like this UK boxing and international boxing on has been doing well, really, really good on a global scale. And Eddie Hearn, in my opinion, is the promoter of the year. And what he's done with Matchroom USA that he's trying to establish right now, he's a real legitimate threat. But it's just that, I understand that, as I talked about in the video yesterday, that Anthony Joshua has a lot of casual fans. He has a lot of fans who are going to ride with him no matter what. He has a machine behind him. And when it comes to Eddie Hearn, the fact that he has to do interviews or talk about Anthony Joshua, Joshua Wilder, Joshua Parker, Joshua Fury, and all these guys, everywhere he goes, of course he's going to contradict himself sometimes, right? He's a human. It's human nature. But one of the things I want to try to help you understand is why I personally feel, from all this gathered evidence, that you can go around and look for yourself. I've always said this as long as I've been on YouTube, and the reason why I've got this far, whether you consider it far or not, is I make sure that everything I talk about, you can go look up yourself, right? And just so happen now, I'm going to events now, so I'm getting this shit from the source. So when a fighter asks for 50-50, right? A lot of UK fans, or Joshua fans, got their panty in the uproar, got sand in their vaginas, right? Because they're like, who the fuck is Wilder to, ask for 50-50? He not selling out 90,000 at Wembley, right? And I get it. Listen, I get it. But that's boxing negotiations 101. Hell, listen, if I had a motherfucking boxer that was 4-14 going up against a guy that's 10-2, even though they'll probably hang up on me and slam the door in my face and be like, well, you ain't take the fight 50-50. That's a 50-50. They probably hang the fuck up. But that's just the way it is from Canelo versus Golovkin. And I'm just talking about recent fights. We're not talking about how this type of negotiation has been going on for years now, and ultimately these fighters end up fighting. Canelo, Golovkin, Mayweather, Pacquiao, even Joshua Parker at one point in time. They were talking about 50-50, then they was like, okay, we'll do 60-40, no less. And now they're at about a percent of 33 or 35% or something like that. By the way, Joshua versus Parker for the WBA Super World IBF and Joseph Parker's WBO title. They're going to be fighting sometime likely March the 31st. We're going to be doing tons of videos, on this. We're also, thanks to the sportsmen, our colleagues over in the UK, we're going to likely be there at Joshua versus Parker. A venue, they're still working on that. Of course, they're going to try to make it a stadium fight, but there's also been rumblings. And Eddie Hearn has touched on it a bit in the past, but he said it only likely happened for the right fight. I'm not quoting him on that. But if this fight is not in the stadium, meaning Joshua versus Parker, then there could be a spike in pay-per-view prices over there. The guys over in the UK are always giving us US people shit because we got to pay, at least 60, but now the trend is 75, and if it's a Mayweather fight, you're paying $100 for it over here, But it's called inflation, ladies and gentlemen. You're going to do it whether you like it or not. But what I want to say is this. The storyline is that the storyline that's been going around now is the reason why Joshua versus Wilder is not happening is because Wilder won at 50-50. But that's a relatively new story or a relatively new narrative. I also must point out to you that the teams met in New York in November or so, around the time of Danny Jacobs' fight. In New York, when Eddie Hearn, this guy Shelly Finkel, and Al Heyman met about how they would get the Joshua fight done. The Wilder versus Joshua fight done. In fact, this is at the Wilder versus Stavern 2 press conference. I was at this fight, and this guy right here, if you don't know him, he's very important. His name is Shelly Finkel. He is likely, from my research, the reason why Al Heyman is in boxing to the magnitude that he is. Please subscribe. My name is TstreeT Controversy. This is TstreeT Controversy Live, as you can see, right on time. My social media links are right there.
About 6 weeks ago, and this was not public, I got a letter.
Hold on, wait, I got to run this back.
From Eddie Hearn. I wanted to say something else, though. About 6 weeks ago, and this was not public, I got a letter, an email from Eddie Hearn, and he said, if you fight Dylan White, we'll get you Joshua next. I couldn't get on the phone quick enough with him, and he didn't answer, and I said, what's the matter? Why aren't you in? He said, please give me a day. I just lost the fight with Pat, the one that he was supposed to Pulev. So the next day, I said to him, what's the deal? He said, what do you want to fight Dylan White? I said, that'll be made easy. When do we get Joshua? Never called me back. Next, I've been around this game a long time. If someone wants to fight, they fight. Joshua said he wants to fight Deontay next year. Deontay just finished his mandatory. You heard what he wants to do. Joshua finished his mandatory. You haven't heard a word from him. If Joshua wants to fight, Deontay is ready. If it means the right deal to go to the UK, he'll fight him on the move. He'll go anywhere to fight him, and he said it. So there's no silence, there's no avoiding. It's up to Joshua, and if it's not, then he has his reasons not to.
Dan Rayfield, you just said fight obviously won't happen next. They're going to do something else. Why? Why can't it happen next? They literally fought 1 week apart. Neither one of them's hurt. They're exactly on the same schedule.
Though I don't know it for a fact, I've just been around long enough to know it.
Right. No, and you're right. Because Anthony Joshua doesn't want to fight this man right now.
Probably Eddie Hearn, but
okay. Okay, I'll give you that. Eddie Hearn doesn't want Anthony Joshua to fight this man.
The athletes want to fight each other.
And, you know, just to stop it right there. Now, listen, I understand that this may come across as an Anthony Joshua, you know, an Eddie Hearn line. I'm not into all that. I'm just reporting the news, man. But it's another video I want you to see.
I don't think he want to fight me as bad as I want to fight him. I agree with that.
There's been already talks of Joshua and Joseph Parker going back to last year. At one point in time, Joseph Parker was the mandatory, the IBF mandatory for Anthony Joshua. But Joseph Parker decided to go after that vacant WBO title. You know, this is a, as you can see, the title says here, I want you to see the date too. And I remember uploading this about like maybe 1 or 2 days after I got it. It says published July 11th, 2017. This is Eddie Hearn and Duco Events meet about Joshua Parker 2018 fight. Bellew in the mix, but Wilder out. Now, here's what Eddie Hearn had to say. He had met with Duco Events. Duco Events is the promoter of Joseph Parker.
Can you think of a single thing you've done that's meant anything at all? I know I'm right.
You know, from an Anthony Joshua promoter's point of view, we've got the Vladimir Klitschko fight. We've also got a mandatory with Pulev, but we want Parker spring, summer of next year. We want to try and add another belt to the bow.
We talked about if we get past Fury, we're looking to, as potential opponents, Dillian White.
This is his promoter. Now, this guy right here, his name is was it David Higgins? I forgot his first name. Damn. But anyway, I like this guy because, you know, he know how to talk shit on the microphone. And in this day and age, you need somebody that knows how to sell the fighter. But him and Eddie Hearn been going back and forth about this whole, you know, Joshua Parker deal. But lately, this guy, especially on social media, you know, has said that, the fight is pretty much done. Listen, guys, the fight is done. We're just waiting for them to finalize the venue and then put tickets on sale. Because when they have a press conference to announce the fight, okay, this is going to happen first. They're going to announce the fight. Then, like a day or two later, there's going to be the press conference. And they have to tell you when to buy tickets and where it's going to be. They can't do that or announce the fight until, you know, they have a venue set down. So let me finish playing the video. It's only like 20 seconds. So, well, 27 seconds. So I'll start over.
You know, from an Anthony Joshua promoter's point of view, we've got the Vladimir Klitschko fight. We've also got a mandatory with Pulev, but we want Parker spring, summer of next year. We want to try and add another belt to the bow.
We talked about,
remember, this is July of last year.
if we get past Fury, we're looking to, as potential opponents, Dillian White, Tony Bellew, and even further out, Joshua.
Yeah, I like David Higgins. Yeah, I think Duco have got a good opportunity in fighting Hughie Fury. It's a fight that, if it happens, I think they should win. And then I would stay here, to be honest with you. I would try and knock off all the guys that would make my profile so significant that the Anthony Joshua fight becomes a huge UK and worldwide event. And certainly victories over Hughie Fury, and Tony Bellew or Dillian White would put Joseph in a brilliant position to earn a lot of money in the Anthony Joshua fight, and put him in a position where that fight is a necessity rather than a potential fight.
In boxing, what makes dollars makes sense, and he said he'll write to us this week with solid offers.
Eddie Hearn is the biggest power broker in world boxing at the moment. He's a guy that's doing some tremendous business here in the UK and around the world at the moment, and somebody I'm sure that David Higgins could gel and work very well with.
Obviously we're both blessed to have world heavyweight champions that we represent, and obviously at some stage they're going to fight each other. Interesting that Joseph Parker and his team are fighting a Brit next. We want to make sure that the next guy they fight is one of our guys, and that is Dillian White, Tony Bellew or Anthony Joshua. So important that we stay close to each other, and important that we strategise together about the way forward. We don't know whether the Hughie Fury fight will happen. You know,
oh, that's old news. So, you know, like, the point I'm trying to prove is, you know, I guess I can say I've seen this type of stuff happen in the years I've covered boxing for so long. This build up to, will these guys fight this year, will they not, and things like that. For example, Al Heyman, who manages and completely controls the career of Keith Thurman and Errol Spence, they will fight each other eventually. You know, so that's why, even though it's my job to report on all this stuff, it gets kind of like, well, I guess, what is it, redundant? Because this is like, you just know, like, yeah, okay, you know, they're going to fight. This is just all a little bullshit mumbo jumbo that's going on, you know? So I feel that, you know, that these two guys, from what I've put together, and that's just, I can show videos and clips and articles, I can do all that shit, you know, but if Deontay Wilder beats Luis Ortiz March the 3rd, you know, he'll have a high enough profile to a lot of fans to say, okay, well, he beat the boogeyman of the heavyweights, or he beat a known PD user. He's, you know, a hero. You see what I'm saying? Anthony Joshua beats Joseph Parker. He captures another title, 3 titles, and years ago, he would have been an undisputed champion at this very young age. And to have him and Wilder fight, it would be a massive, crazy, super, what, can they put 100,000 at Wembley? Over there in the UK, they're working on it. You know, Wilder knows he has to go to the UK. You know, Wilder, yeah, he's saying 50-50, but you think he's going to say, no, you know, I'm not going to accept 35%. But Wilder's got to knock Luis Ortiz the fuck out. But the crazy thing is, in this crazy world, what if Luis Ortiz win? What if Joseph Parker win? We can have Luis Ortiz versus Joseph Parker for the undisputed championships. However, of course, if they're smart on Wilder's side, they'll get a rematch clause with Luis Ortiz. But Luis Ortiz and Deontay Wilder, you know, both are managed and advised by the same team, so that possibly could happen. And then you have Parker versus Joshua. I know that there's definitely a rematch clause in that, but is there a rematch clause if Joshua wins, you know? Joshua's mandatory, by the way. If Joshua doesn't fight, now we're just talking about the woulda, coulda, shouldas if these guys win. If Joshua doesn't fight Deontay Wilder and he beats Joseph Parker, right? He's going to have to fight Alexander Povetkin, and fans are going to be pissed off, even though it'll be a good fight internationally, a good name under his belt, you know, but still, you know, it's not going to sell. Or whoever the IBF is going to appoint as their next #1 mandatory. I got to get on that. Because one thing about the IBF, as we know, Tyson Fury, you know, look at Carl Froch, you know, most recently, they will strip you if you don't defend your title when they say, listen, it's been a year, fight your mandatory. We don't care about no rematch clause, none of that shit. But I didn't want this to be no 20-minute video, you know, even though we still got tons of videos to do in this. Basically, the point was to kind of, I guess, you know, just talk about, like, if Wilder was right to talk about 50-50 or not. He knows, come on, man. He knows he ain't getting no 50-50. Of course he's saying this, but I've noticed from a video that I did yesterday that you had so many comments, you know, people talking about, in fact, you know, before I go, let's go look at these comments of people talking about, like, man, you know, 50-50 this and he shit. I'm thinking, like, well, wait a minute. What happened to when Eddie Hearn, you know, had said fight Dillian White, then you get, you know, Deontay Wilder. Then Deontay Wilder's manager, Shelly Finkel, goes on and says in front of all this media at a very high-profile post-fight press conference and says, listen, we said we'll fight Dillian White. You know, we'll get the deal done. Fuck what they was talking about with money. What the fighters are talking about. Who makes the deals are the guys like Shelly Finkel, Al Heyman, and Eddie Hearn. The hell with what the fighters are saying. You got to get out that mode. You know, I'm not going to show no comments. It's too many of them. It's too many of them. You know, but it's just like, you know, plus I don't feel like zooming in. You know, I'm not trying to put these people on the spot. You know, people are entitled, you know, to their opinions and stuff, but it's just like, my God. You know? They won't fight unless Wilder accepts that he isn't worth 50%. Wilder don't want the Joshua fight clearly with his 50-50 talk. And, you know, you'd be surprised, like, how many, you know, people just really fully buy into this. You have this guy that says, bro, you can't run a channel and sound like a total casual. There's no explaining people like you. Anyone that says it's a big fight is serious. He's talking about Joshua versus Parker's not a big fight. It is a very big fight. It's a unification. And also, I understand that if people in the United States don't really know who Joseph Parker is, you know, to a certain extent. But remember, the boxing is bigger than the United States. It's bigger than the United States. You know, so it's just, you know, I have to deal with shit like that though on a regular. You'd be surprised. But anyway, I'm TstreeT Controversy. This is TstreeT Controversy Live. Please subscribe. All the links to my social media have been popping up. I gotta figure out how to say that more crisply. What have been popping up on the screen? Please subscribe.